Okay, so good afternoon, people. So I'm here with my BC squad. My
Hey.
BC squad,
Hey.
so like I think you guys already know like what we're gonna do. So this whole episode is to encourage people who's really anxious nowadays. And then I think this could like through you guys sharing some stories that you guys received some blessings during quarantine. I think it could be an encouragement to those people. So yeah, so why don't you guys just start introducing yourself? Erica, you wanna go first?
Oh, okay. I'm Erica. I'm a nursing student. That's it.
Alright, Lyra?
Hi guys. What's up? I'm Lyra and yeah, I'm from Vancouver, BC.
You're loving it. Just go ahead. Just go ahead.
Who, me?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Oh, okay, my bad. Okay. I'm Lavina. I also live in BC. I live in Burnaby, which is right by Vancouver, but I'm not going to be one of those people that claims to live in Vancouver when I don't.
Dead. That's me. Definitely me.
Anyway, I am currently also a student studying to be an RMT, but I am also currently a cosmetologist. So that means I do like hair, nails, facials, that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Which is why your makeup looks so bomb.
Well, I try. I'm kidding. No. It's hard to do work with COVID because obviously I can't touch people or be around people.
Yeah, actually, so.
Hello?
And I'm Ella. I live in New Westminster, which is close to Vancouver as well. And I just graduated from Burman University in Alberta.
Yeah, you have to say that you got accepted to the Loma Linda.
Oh, okay. And I'm also going to med school in the fall. But that's part
Why are
of
you trying to be humble?
part of
Why
my
you trying to be humble?
testimony.
Don't try
That's
to be
honestly been
humble.
part of my
You're taking
testimony.
away from her story.
Yes,
Okay.
Got a
Jamin.
plan.
Gosh, the
So-
Jamin, man.
We can start with Ella now. Now share your story.
Okay. So as I mentioned, I just graduated. So it's actually very scary to graduate during this time where it's very uncertain. You don't know where the world is going to be in like the next week, much less the next month. And as Jamin mentioned, I got accepted to med school and I plan on moving to the States to start med school, but it's been hard with the border still being closed and just not really knowing where to live, if school's even going to start. And so I've been praying a lot about how to move forward. And it's just been amazing because although there's been so much uncertainty, God has really just done so much for me to build up my faith and to let me know that He is in control. One of the things that was really worrying me was the fact that I had to apply for a student visa to go to the States, right? And so the deadline for getting all of my papers in was actually 4 days ago. And so maybe like 2 weeks ago, I was really worried because I was thinking, oh man, like I don't know if I'm going to be able to get these papers in on time. All of the banks are closed, so I don't have that show money to prove to them that I can pay my first 2 years of med school. But after me and my family kept praying, we were able to send an appeal letter in, and my med school allowed me an extension for my papers. And everything just started coming together. I have a bank appointment scheduled. I was able to get like a bunch of paperwork all finished, even though offices are closed right now. And it just goes to show that even though not everything is sorted out yet, that God's hand is still leading and that it really is His purpose for me to go to med school in the fall. So He's the one who's been taking care of things. And it hasn't been so stressful. In fact, my faith has been encouraged during this time, even though there's so much to worry about. So praise God.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, because for me coming to Canada, like I also had to apply for like my visa stuff, and then it's so hard. Like I failed one time because I didn't put all the documents that I needed. Like I was just young that I was not like I was just dumb that I didn't know like what documents that I had to put into this government. But then when I did second time, like while I was preparing for the second time, it was so hard to get it. Like I actually needed to go to like the military base to get if I went to the army or not, and I had to go like put some all the money since like let them know that I have this amount of money that I can stay in Canada. Like you need to prove your financial status.
Yeah.
Everything like because my parents were in Philippines and I was in Korea doing all these things by myself. It was really crazy. I had to go to this police station and then like this criminal record, but then not many people like let you do that because I don't know, maybe I heard from somebody that like just by just getting this criminal record and using this for other country is kind of illegal stuff. So you have to really be careful. Something like that. There were so many restrictions and like everything, but then thank God that I'm here,
Yeah.
about to graduate Berman.
Yeah, let's get it.
Graduate. I got 1 year left. Anyways, so yeah, Ella, it was a really nice story. And who would like to go next? I see Lyra getting ready.
She was literally still. All of us were literally still.
Like,
Shoot, yeah, okay, sure, why not? I'll go. So to be honest, when Jamin asked me this yesterday, I was like, dude, like, what do I even share? I was like, bro, I'm like so worried about it. But like after like doing some reflection, I realized like there's been a lot that has happened. Like I feel like God has taught me a lot about myself that I didn't know of. So there has been a lot of growth, which I'm definitely am thankful for, especially during this time because obviously it's really uncertain right now and we don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, I've just been like learning, just like what Ella has mentioned, just day by day, just trusting in God and knowing that like he has the future in his hands. And yeah, and what's crazy is that I actually got an email on Friday, like in the afternoon, for VCC because they emailed me like the deadlines as to when I should pay like for certain things. And so I was just like really happy about that because I was just like, oh shoot, am I going to get accepted into the program? Like, am I going to be on this waiting list forever? But God literally just came through, and I'm just so grateful that it came on time that I needed to, because I feel like if it came later, like I would have been like really shocked. So yeah, that's something that I've been very happy about. So yeah.
Wait, so VCC or VSS? What? Which
VCC. So it
so
stands for Vancouver Community College. So I applied for the hair program there. So I'm really excited. I'm really
number two
excited.
Lavina. Number two Lavina.
Yeah, no, for real.
we
And
need
honestly,
more.
like the fact that Lavina has already pursued this it was like it just gave me all the more comfort because I was like deliberating about it whether or not I should do it because it's been something that I've always wanted to do ever since I was a kid. But I'm like, yeah, why not? The time is here now. Might as well just do it and then just dedicate this to God and see where things are going forward. So yeah.
I just want to say something about Lyra. So Lyra and I have been keeping in touch during quarantine, and I just really admire her faith in like letting God plan her future, because Lyra used to work, but then now she made the decision to go back to school, right? And when we were on the phone, she was just like, yeah, like I think it's just, or she doesn't really have any fear about the future and about whether she should stay in her job or go back to school. She's just like, yeah, like God gave me the job. So now if he lets me go to school, then I guess that's where I'm going to go. And I was just like, how do you just put your future into God's hands just like that? Because I was struggling with, I feel like there's this idea of when your life is already shambles, it's easier to surrender your life to God. Like when you didn't study for a test or something, you're like, okay, God, like I didn't study. Can you please help me on this exam? And I just surrender the results up to you. But then it's different when like you've worked so hard to get to this point in your life and your future is ahead of you. And then like, do you get what I mean? Like you worked so hard up to that point, and just surrendering all of your efforts to God and saying, okay, God, like, here's my future. It could be good, but I want you to lead. I feel like that's harder. So
Yo, you
I admire
know, Lyra takes forever to get that point.
what?
While I was staying there at her house, yo, I had to deal all this emotional stuff until she gets to the point where she surrenders everything to God. It's you don't even know.
Okay, but maybe that's a beautiful thing, that it's a journey. It's not just like something quick that you wake up one day
No,
and
that's true. Yeah.
just like that it happens.
Mhm.
So I admire that, Lyra.
Oh, thank you so much. No, and to be honest, I just also wanted to add, like, it's so funny that Jamin mentioned that. And no, and I just gotta say, like, I'm grateful, like, for you guys. Actually, I know it might sound really cheesy and corny, but it's so true. No, it's really true. And I feel like because, like, we have, like, this restriction of us, like, being, like, in physical contact with each other, it's like now during, like, this whole quarantine, like through technology, like we're still able to do this and be able to
Mm.
just share that. And I think that's such like a great blessing because it's obviously, yeah, for me, like if I get stuck in a loophole, like I can get stuck in it until it's like, okay, shoot, this is not what God has called all of us to do. Like
Mhm.
He called us to like just share the light, which is what we're doing right now. So yeah, thanks for this opportunity.
Mhm. All right. Wonderful story by Lyra. Who wants? I'm just looking at this Lavina and Erica. Like you guys are just like saying, "Oh, I want to go. I wanna go first. I want to go." Who want to go first?
Lavina.
Okay. I guess I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of
Yo, Erica, why are
Lyra's.
you shy? Just
Well,
act like
I feel like I'm nothing like to. I don't know what to say.
Girl, don't even worry.
That was me. That was
It'll
literally
come.
me. So
It'll
don't
come what
worry.
to say.
It's okay. Don't worry.
No,
go
so
ahead.
that being said, I'm gonna jump off of Lyra's last point about like the sense of community that is still quite prevalent, which is a blessing in itself. Because, okay, to be honest, this quarantine, obviously you can't really go out do anything. Lyra and I were actually supposed to go to Toronto and then to Berman for the grad back in April because I had a break in between school there, but clearly got a change of plans. But that's all good. But it was, that being said, it's really interesting that obviously working closely with people and then you end up talking to them, you start to build friendships and relationships with them. And I actually had a couple clients message me throughout this quarantine, like just checking up and be like, hey, when are you guys gonna open, like thinking about you, blah blah blah, this and that, like missing our conversations. And then I had this one client, and like she has been through a lot, I'm just gonna say that. And so she is, I don't want to get into too much detail just for privacy reasons, but like basically she had an accident, so she doesn't have her full range of motion, I guess you can say. Like she can still walk and stuff like that, but like it's harder for her. Like she's a little bit slower and her voice really quiet and stuff like that. Anyways, so she was messaging me, and like she's kind of like not sarcastic, but she likes to joke around and stuff like that. But she was messaging me, and I was asking her like, okay, well, like what are you up to, blah blah, right? And she was like, well, I don't, like I can't get my hair done, I can't go to the spa, and I can't go shopping, and I can't go out to eat. And she said my life is meaningless.
Mhm.
And like I feel like when she said that her life is meaningless, I feel like she was kind of saying it like joking, like, oh haha, like what do I do now? But it actually made me think that like how many people feel that way. It's like we're quite lucky to have this, like this community where we can share and talk. And like even though it's been hard for us, I feel like the fact that we still have these interactions kind of makes it a little bit easier, and like your day doesn't drag on forever. But it's really interesting because yeah, when she said that, whether she truly meant it or not, I still feel like there's like a little bit of truth to it. And it made me think like people out there are lonely, and it's like for us being Christians, we know that our life has meaning and purpose because of God, because we are children of God. And like he's given us a purpose, he's created us and for a special purpose as well. Sorry, I keep saying purpose, but and it was, and that being said, I think this quarantine has been a blessing in the sense that it's really caused me and other people as well to really get down to the basics and get down to like what is actually important to us in this life, like what is the meaning of life, I guess, you know what I mean. And I think God has been showing us again that it's really in our relationships, in our ways to connect, and it just shows that, you know, like no man is an island kind of thing. And another blessing with that is that, you know, now that things are starting to get lifted and we're starting to be able to go back to like our normal everyday life, it's like, well, what's normal? You know, it's like, I think going forward into like our new normal, we realize that nothing's going to be the same anymore. Because in the past, I think for a lot of us, we've prided ourselves in being so busy. You know, it's like I would come home like normally around 9 o'clock at night because I've had school or work, and then there was like midweek, and then there was like, you know, all these other things that you have to do. And
that.
Right. And like me, in the nature of my job, I'm kind of able to bring that to other places. So like people would be like, hey, can you come over and like cut my hair, do this color, whatever. And so then like I have a really hard time saying no. And not that I don't want to do these things, but it's like, you know, sometimes you want to do other things and stuff like that. And then so then you get used to making yourself so busy, and then when you get home and then you have like an hour or two, then you like binge watch like your shows, or you're on Instagram or YouTube, or I guess now TikTok for like hours on end. Right? And it's like, and you indulge yourself because you're like, well, I did so much already, like I deserve it, blah blah blah.
That's
and you're like, this is self-love, like this is self-care, blah blah blah. But like, is it really? You know what I mean? And then like, I don't know, it's just like really made me reflect on things. Oh, and another thing that's kind of been a blessing to see is that, you know, in this time when you can't really do what you're used to, like to see how much has been born out of that. You know, it's like all these creative people going back into their art and creating podcasts or like creating YouTube channels, or, you know what I mean? And I feel like the big fear kind of is that like, oh, is it oversaturated? But it's like, no, it's like everyone's so different. We need all those aspects. And actually, randomly, I remember, so we have a friend who's an animator, and I remember he posted on his Facebook, he said, remember when things went hard, you always went back to art. And I thought that that was so interesting, especially considering that, you know, God is a creator and like an artist, you know. And it's really interesting because beforehand, I feel like there was kind of this slow movement of slowly getting rid of the arts for a little bit, and then now we're starting to see the significance of it again and how it works together with like things like science and math and stuff. Like, so it's like not one thing is higher than the other, it all kind of works cohesively. And yeah, sorry, I ramble a lot, so
That was good.
Like,
cut me off at any time.
I just want to share one thing. Like, I saw one, I forgot his name. Do you know Francis Chan?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw his one video. It's a sermon, and it's titled "Be Still and Know That I Am God." I don't know if you guys saw that video, and it's pretty much saying that we're always caught up by something. Like, we're on the treadmill, and then people beside you, the society, is always trying to make you run, and you don't even know what you're going for. Like, you're always running. And now, because of this quarantine, the good COVID, God is trying to pause all this treadmill that we're on it, and then he's telling us to be still and know that I am God. So like, I think like it is also important for us to like we're always so caught up by everything, and then like we always like, how do I say it, like kind of miss the real point that what we really needed right now at this moment. Like, yeah, and that just relates to me so much with your story and like that video. Yeah.
I really like what Lavina was saying about getting down to the basics, because we had this conversation with Sam, right? When we were talking about what we learned during quarantine, and just talking to a lot of other people during this time, everybody always says, I just learned so much about myself. Like, I just had time to finally reflect on what I was doing. And I feel like for myself and for a lot of people, quarantine kind of started like, okay, so then normal life, right? And then everything crashed, and then there was panic. And then we finally had all this free time. So then a bunch of us tried to be hyper productive and like, okay, so we have all of this time. We don't have to go to school. So we need to fill it up by doing all of these projects, taking care of ourselves, like starting new things and all of that.
So true.
But then after that like period of hyper productivity, me and just a bunch of people got so tired. So then I actually had 1 week where I literally did nothing. Like, I didn't talk to my friends. I didn't do any schoolwork because school was already done by then. I wasn't doing any preparation for going to school in the fall. Like, I was literally just chilling. But then even during that time of doing nothing, I still got so tired. And then after, I think it was this week now, that I was starting to reach out to people, starting to go back to self-reflecting and learning more about myself, that I realized that like procrastination is not equal to resting. I feel like that's a big lesson I learned in my uni career too. Lavina, I see your face. You feel that too, hey? Yeah, it's because like when you were talking about how like your day would be so busy, right? And then you'd come home and then you'd have an hour to like binge watch or something, and you justify it by telling yourself like, oh, like I deserve it because I worked so hard.
Oh my gosh, that's me every single day.
Girl,
that's
I feel
still
I'm
me.
still living. I'm
That's
still
me like
living
every
through
single
that.
day.
Yeah, but then
Okay.
okay, sorry, Jamin, you wanted to say
No,
something?
you can continue. You can go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Just to finish off my point, I learned that there's a difference between procrastination and resting, and that resting is like, it's not as passive as it seems. Like, it's not just putting things off. It's intentionally taking time for yourself and intentionally doing things that re-energize you. Because I don't know about you guys, but binge watching stuff doesn't actually energize me. Like, it just makes me tired and not productive afterward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you feel so disgusting. You're like, oh, I can't believe I
so
just
guilty.
spent like an hour or two doing nothing.
For real. Yeah,
Like,
it doesn't prime me to be productive afterward at all. So then I feel like quarantine has taught me not only to self-reflect, but also to find out what rest looks like healthy rest, so that after I do whatever I need to rest, I actually feel energized to do something meaningful.
Can I add on to that?
Yep.
So like for me, I feel like I don't know if it's like off topic, but like you know how you guys say like because Ella mentioned like procrastinating versus like rest, right? For me, like I don't really rest because I feel like once I rest, like when I mean by rest, like I don't do anything. If I once I do that, I feel like I really go into deep thought, and which I low key hate.
Same.
Like I low key hate it. Like I don't know. Like it happened recently. Like I was on my phone and I was like so bored of it, so I like laid down. I looked so creepy, but I was like laying down like in my bed, just like looking at my ceiling, and I was like thinking about it, like, oh my goodness, do I really want to be a nurse? And which is like, that's why I don't really like to go in deep thought, because like I think about so much things that I should be thinking about, but I don't want to. Like I avoid it. You know what I mean? Like it's, yeah, I don't know.
I know what you mean. Like I've been there. Like same thing. Like I'm just here doing nothing, and then like looking at the ceiling. Oh, what is it? Like, am I actually gonna be a passer? Like, I don't want to.
You like
I feel
you
like
think
I'm not ready
about
for
a lot
it.
of things. Like when you're like not doing anything and just like sitting and reflecting, you think about it.
Yeah.
Like because I'm a overthinker. So like if my mom tells me to do something and I like low key talk back, but not really. I like she tells me like do the dishes, but like, and I tell her I'm busy. I like go in my room and I think about it and then I go and do it because I feel bad. That's why I don't like to take rest or like like I don't like to rest because I think about too much stuff, which I don't want to think about because it makes me overthink about them. I don't know if that made sense. That's kind of like physics. I don't know.
Actually,
I
I hear that. Did you want to say something, Jamin?
Nope.
Oh, okay. I hear that because I also like to be in my head a lot. And I remember reading this quote once that it said, if you live in your head a lot, make it a beautiful place with your
That's
thoughts.
so hard for me.
And that really stuck to me because I can sometimes get in my feels and like I
so
don't even
true.
realize what's happening outside of me, or like if what I'm feeling is actually true, and if my
Yes.
thoughts are actually in line with something meaningful and healthy and good. And so I just wanted to share a verse that was shared last night during our devotional time. It's found in Psalms 139, verses 23 to 24, and it says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxieties, and see if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." And that verse just really stood out to me because, like Erica, I can also be in my head, but I need wisdom to know when these thoughts start being unhealthy and when they can be hurtful towards me rather than inspiring me to do good things for other people. And the fact that God is not afraid of what's in my heart or in my head, because some of these thoughts, like, they just need to stay up in here, because if anybody else found out what was going on up in here, they'd be like, what the heck? Like, why? Right? But then God knows what's up in here, and furthermore, he wants me to be healthy in my thoughts.
I want to jump on that also.
Okay, I'm gonna jump on after Lavina.
Oh
Okay,
my
actually, you go
gosh.
first.
No, you go first.
Are you sure? Because I can talk a lot.
For real.
No, I mean, it's okay.
Okay, so no, I totally hear you guys on the whole, like, you second guess yourself, like, is this what I actually want to do? Like, honestly, for me, even being in a career right now, it's like, do I actually really want this? You know what I mean? And I think those thoughts are okay. Like, I know that we're afraid to think those things, but like, God already knows your thoughts, you know, so he's already heard all this. Like, and one of the things that I realized, and this is kind of like where the whole coming to the core or the basics of what everything is kind of came from, is that like the way to make that your mind your beautiful place or whatever is to get through those thoughts, you know. It's like I heard this one quote or whatever, it's like when God is like taking you through the storm or through the valley of the shadow of death, he's trying to take you through it, not trying to like drop you off in the middle of it and like good luck. You know what I mean? And I think we kind of forget that too. Like whenever we think about these doubtful thoughts and stuff like that, like we kind of go like, oh no, like let's not think about that, blah blah blah. Which I mean, like, there's something about, I think there's a difference between like thinking about it and then like allowing yourself to just kind of like
be overwhelmed by
like
it,
fester your negativity, you know what I mean? But I feel like if you think about the things that you're kind of doubting or stuff like that, and you learn how to think or work through that, obviously with God, because like that's the only way you can really solve anything, right? But that's, to me, is how I've realized that, because I know a lot of us right now are in school or starting off a career or trying to figure out a career or whatever, things like that. And what I've learned while thinking those thoughts and going through all of that is that it's not so much what you're doing per se. It's not so much the title of your career, but it's more so what is your purpose in what you are doing. So let me give you an example. For me, being a cosmetologist, it's not the most Adventist career, as I have shared before. Most people are like, how do you serve God doing that? You know what I mean? And realizing, for me personally, what I try to accomplish in my, I guess, personal ministry and stuff like that is upholding the faith, restoring the image of God, and being a safe place, you know? And I feel like those three things kind of work together. And so now that I've realized that that is what I'm trying to accomplish versus trying to be an esthetician, or a cosmetologist, then I now know that my career is the means that I use to fulfill that purpose. So that's why now, like when I go into work and stuff like that, it's like, yes, I do hair, I do nails, I do the facials and stuff like that. But more importantly, I have conversations with my clients. And one of the things that I picked up in I think it was Desire of Ages or something like that, it said that when Jesus was young and he went into the temple and was talking to the rabbis and stuff like that, like he didn't really like teach them in the way like this and this and this, because like he knew that they wouldn't take it that way. But it was more so he would ask questions that left like a train of thought with them, you know. And to me, I was like, that is so powerful, you know. It's like, because you have no power in yourself to like save anybody, but you can plant that seed of thought for them to start thinking about like, oh yeah, like let me start seeing it this way, especially when it comes to restoring the image of God. You know, I feel like the world has such a skewed version of who God is, and it's like, well, I don't believe in that God either. You know. And so like for you to restore his image and be like, this is actually who God is, like I feel like that is what me personally has what I've been called to do. And so now whether you put me in a spa or you put me out in the middle of nowhere or like wherever you put me, I am able to still fulfill my purpose, because people are dynamic, you know. It's like one day you like it, one day you don't. It's like,
that's true.
what makes it right? It's like what
so
makes
true.
you think that your whole career is going to be the same or like will look the same for all the years of your life? Like, are you not growing? Are you not changing? And like those things are okay. And I think that's something that we need to learn also. But sorry, on Erica.
Now
I
it's
forgot what I was gonna say, but that was really good though. I know. I
time for
forgot.
you to share your story, Erica.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was. I forgot what I was gonna say.
No, just share your story.
Share what story?
Like what blessings you ever received during quarantine.
Whatever
Honestly,
you want to say, girl, we're gonna hear it.
I've honestly had a lot of blessings during quarantine. It's kind of more than I've ever had. Like in
top three.
My top three. Passing my last skills assessment.
Yeah. Okay,
So
let's get it.
So my clinical practice is gonna be at VGH in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So like that was one of like my major blessings during quarantine, was like passing that, because like in my program, my nursing program, I don't want to expose people, but a lot of people don't do as well. And like for me, I feel like I'm one of those students that lacks off or like doesn't pay attention, and I'm sorry for those who are anxious, but yeah, I like low-key don't pay attention because I'm a self-taught person. Like I'm a hands-on person. Like I don't do anything academically. Like I need something to do, right? So like I always do better when it comes to like skills or like helping people. Like I do better in that type. That's why I kind of want to go into nursing, but also kind of like, do I want to? You know what I mean? But yeah, that was like my top blessing during quarantine. My other one, honestly, was I hung out with Lyra and our two other friends the other day, or like 2 days ago, because our friend is actually leaving for the military in 2 days.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my
He's going back to Taiwan. And so like it was good to see, like even though like COVID, it's not really like safe right now, but like people are going out and like being in like a little bit bigger groups. Like it was good to see them, just because like it's been a long time, and like it's good to see him before he goes to Taiwan. Yeah.